Welcome, one and all, to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Rains are here. It's literally cloudy outside my door right now. It rained all weekend here in northwestern Broward. That can wreak havoc, as we all know, to our homes and office. But the reason why I'm smiling and I'm laughing and not cringing in fear is because of Water Cleanup of Florida. They worked on our townhouse. I presume if we have any issues here in our new home, the first people we will call is Water Cleanup of Florida. They're the first people you should call, 954-579-0356. Again, if you have water or fire damage, 954-579-0356. And again, not only they'll assess the situation, they'll correct whatever issue is there, but they'll make it look brand new with their certified, insured, licensed contractors. Again, from personal experience, working with them was a dream. To deal with a nightmare situation and not have to have one fight with my wife. Believe me, those who are married, those who are in relationships of any kind, you know when issues happen at your residence, you tend to go after each other. Even though it's no one's fault, well, it probably wasn't my fault. She had been telling me for a long time things were wrong with the house, and I hadn't listened. Knowing that Water Cleanup of Florida is there, go right to them, avoid any issues, and they will make it look brand new. Again, 954-579-0356. Water Cleanup of Florida, WCUFL.com, at Water Cleanup FL on all the social medias, and Google loves them. You don't trust me? Yeah, even if you do trust me, it never hurts to double check and go to other sources. Google with over 85-star reviews. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, believe me, they have the guts. The Miami Heat are one organization that is always full of guts. A guy you've heard a lot this weekend all over my 5 Reasons Sports Network, talking about a lot of the things we talked about with him today. But, of course, there's always a little different skew when it's the Defo Show with Defo and myself. Ethan Scoop Skolnick, as we love to call him, joined us today on the Defo Show right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
The Mustang says she doesn't really talk like that. Anyway, welcome back to the show. And we want to get to this gentleman right away because he's got his own business to run and is kind enough and generous enough to spend some time with us here on a Defo Show. Ethan Scoop Skolnick, of course, 5 Reasons Sports Network. He's all over virtually everything. I have to try and settle or have you weigh in, Ethan, on an argument here.
Okay.
And I'm having with Mike Lubitz about the Miami Heat, okay? Because I believe this is a ridiculous sporting contention that you would blame a guy who wasn't necessarily known for this type of hustle for hustling. And he blames Tyler Herro for getting hurt because he should have never been diving for this loose ball.
I think if you're not used to doing
Now,
it,
it's not like he was Dennis Rodman. I don't know how you were about it. I mean, there were certain things I wasn't doing, no matter how anxious I was to win or prove that I was a worthy team player. I wasn't diving headfirst into, like, the front row of chairs that are removable, to maybe save a ball that was going out of bounds. It was like, okay, it was off me, your ball. What do you think? I mean, are people on 5 Reasons? I'm sure that was, brought up many, many times. That what the fuck is this guy doing diving for a loose ball when he's our only viable and reliable shooter, and third option on offense? What do you think, Ethan? Was he wrong to do that?
I think it's all based on what you thought about Tyler beforehand. Honestly, I think that's what colors this. It's funny because Pat came out and actually said that he's a get on the floor type guy, but maybe he's going to tell Tyler next time don't do it with a shooting hand. I think Lubie's being ridiculous. Honestly,
Thank you very much.
I'm just going to say that I'm never going to blame a guy for hustling. I don't think it's fake hustle in the first playoff game. I really don't. Like, I mean, what is he trying to prove to anybody? I think he didn't use maybe the best judgment by going down with his shooting hand, but again, it's an instinctual type thing. I mean, he's trying to make a play. And then what happens ultimately is, and I said this last night on 5 on the Floor, because we actually discussed this. Not quite the same way Lubie did, but we discussed it.
It would be a common opinion that you would hear maybe out of 20% of Michigan fans?
Yeah, I think it's most of the Michigan fans that wanted him traded to begin with. I'm not casting that aspersion on you, Mike, but I'm just saying the majority of those who seem to be calling him injury prone because of that kind of wanted him to be traded to begin with. I would say this idea of injury prone is always interesting to me because
Yes.
it becomes this, well, availability is a skill and all the rest of this, but there's different reasons for being unavailable, right? Like
Sure.
if it's a guy who doesn't condition himself and so he's got a bunch of hamstring and quad injuries and misses time because of that, or it seems like a guy like Zion who just doesn't give a damn, or it's a guy like Kawhi who seems to have his own sort of rules about, how he gets back, and then he's got maybe a degenerative condition, then, yeah, okay, I think the term injury prone. I mean, even with Tua, like, okay, like the head thing, the concussion thing, yes. Okay,
that's new, though. Yeah.
He seems to be prone to it. But, like, the fact that he broke his finger, like, on an offensive lineman, like, that's not injury prone. That's just bad luck. Like,
right.
and I think we need to distinguish those two things. So I'm not going to blame Tyler for being injury prone. I just think Tyler's in a situation right now where he is the piece that the Heat would likely need to move to upgrade during Jimmy's window. It's just that simple. Like, there's nothing else to it, and I think people are making it out to be something else.
I think of you, Teal Green, when you talk about the injury prone thing.
Yes.
When
he went down right.
Drafted by the Finns.
Right in front of me, Defo. Like, Teal, that was the very first day of training camp, and it's like we expected him to get hurt, and he did. That's injury prone. You understand?
I remember defending the draft pick, of course, because we were sucking up to Jimmy so much at the time. And
yes.
Well, and I thought his injuries were kind of, I guess you could call them somewhat, situational, circumstantial, whatever, that, he would pull a hamstring and he'd be out for a couple of games, whatever. It was nothing serious. And then, he tears like an anterior cruciate as he was signing his contract and getting up from the desk. And you're like, oh, fuck, I look like a fool. But what can you do? It wouldn't be the first or the last time.
Not as much as Jimmy did. So it's
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'm not the draftnik that you and Lubie are, but I'm interested in it, of course, because it's part of the business, and it's become, much more integrated into things that people pay attention to. And I kept thinking this. I mean, it was like the Brady Quinn thing with the Dolphins many years ago. And I'm not a big Jay Billis fan. In fact, if he never spoke again or appeared on TV, I wouldn't be upset by it at all. Yet he kept saying that Cam Whitmore, every pick was going to be Cam Whitmore. How did they not take Cam Whitmore? What is the reason that he's falling?
Right.
And I'm thinking that, maybe this is one of those weird deals where at number 18, you're getting a guy that could have gone in the top 5 in some people's opinion. So I was actually thinking that when Adam Silver got up there, he was going to say with the number 18 pick, the Miami Heat take Cam Whitmore. Did you have any kind of sentiment like that? Or were you zeroing in on Lubie? To his credit, Lubie Brown actually mentioned Jaquez as a guy that they probably were interested in.
I wouldn't say zero. We were discussing it for sure. I mean, when he dropped, for a couple of reasons. One, like you mentioned, he was projected to be top 5, top 6 pick. Also, he's a Villanova guy, and Miami likes Villanova guys. Eric Spoelstra said that specifically. But then when you kind of dove into it a little bit more, you understood maybe why they didn't do it, because the reasons that he fell, and one might have been injury related. We really haven't gotten the total story on that, but the other was that his workouts weren't particularly good, I guess, and there was some concern about commitment. At first, there was some, this conversation more so about sort of being an introvert, but then it was kind of like he didn't really put a lot of effort into these things. If that's the case, the Heat are likely going to stay away. I think the other issue with it was that, I don't think they worked him out. The Heat worked him out specifically because I don't think they thought he was going to get to them. And just to be honest, when they've done that before, when a player slipped to them, they've had mixed results. Caron Butler obviously was a home run pick at 10, slipped to them in 2002. Nobody thought he was going to be there at 10. And so that was a total no-brainer. But there was so much background on Caron at that stage that it was kind of like, okay, this is the type of character person and everything else you would want in your organization beyond just the skill level. But then Justice fell to them at number 10.
I knew you were going to mention him, and I was thinking that's worse than the fact that this Bee Gees song is stuck in my head ever since I watched Saturday Night Fever the week or so ago.
Yeah. Justice, because I think they would have taken Devin Booker, but then Justice fell to them, and so they ended up making that pick. And so I think there's a little bit in the back of maybe their minds, like, don't take the guy just because he fell to us,
right?
To make the splash pick. So, the thing about Jaquez is this: if you look at where they are with their cap situation, which we just did. We did 3 episodes this weekend, but the last one we did was really depressing if you look at their cap and tax situation.
Oh yeah, wow.
And their lack of
I
flexibility.
tend to ignore that aspect. Like,
Yeah.
they'll find a way to do it. Sell a cruise ship, do something. Yeah.
I mean, Andy needs, a Houdini act like you've never seen before. And I don't even know if he's capable, but I just don't know if it's even possible when you look at what they're looking at right now. So what you need is playable guys at this stage. And so you can't have $3.5 million on your sheet, which if you're looking at with luxury tax gets multiplied for a guy who's just going to sit the whole year. And Jaquez, I asked Adam Simon about the fact that he's 22. He said, well, we had the rest of our basket of guys with 19, but I think they were always going to lean towards the more ready guy this time, particularly because, they pretty much had a red shirt year with Jovic. So we don't know if they're going to have a second red shirt year, if he's even still here. And so you wanted somebody who right away you thought could be a back-end rotation player. And I think that played into this because this kid has NBA-ready skills. And so I feel like even if he doesn't exactly know what he's doing at first, you can put him in a rotation at the back end of it this year, and he'll run around and hustle and score some by accident. And I kind of feel like that's what they were looking for.
Well, after being out in L.A. for a few years, I always have at least a passing interest in UCLA basketball and seeing where they're at. And I watch this guy. He plays through his senior year. He was good when he got there. He has, they call him the Mexican Jimmy Butler. It seems like somewhat of a fair comparison, right?
Yeah.
So, he has a similar type of game where a lot of his scoring opportunities are created with like multiple spin moves in the paint after driving in there, and he'll find a way to get a shot up, and he's fairly efficient at converting them. I guess the suspect aspect is 3-point shooting, which I don't think he's horrendous. I've seen him be effective there. So, a worthwhile pick. Do you think this guy will see much playing time this year?
I think it depends how the roster shakes out, but I do see him getting time, yes. And I actually think he's going to be really interesting at Summer League. Because I feel like he's going to be more ready to play than some of these other guys, and so he's going to pop at Summer League. I'm actually going to go to Vegas for that because I feel like they are that team they're going to put together at Summer League is going to be interesting to watch with him and Jovic and Kane and Orlando Robinson. It's going to be like a couple of years ago where they had Herro and Duncan Robinson and Kendrick Nunn on that team. I think they're going to roll over people, and so I feel like he's going to be fun to watch out there, and I do think he'll play some this year.
Nice job there, Ethan, finding a way to go to Vegas.
I had to ask the boss.
Yeah, I'm sure.
For an extended period of time.
So, look, it's fun to talk about all these other things, but there's one thing that's swirling right now around the Heat, and it's the only thing that's swirling right now around the Heat. The tax thing does get involved in it, but it feels like a lot of these guys that they want to keep or may cost them may be involved in this one thing. Damian Lillard and the Trailblazers, it's funny, a lot of people are getting annoyed by it because it feels like we all know the answer. We all know what's going to happen, and both sides are just sort of, sorry for my language, dicking around. I've seen you say a lot of this more, or the 5 reasons account, which I feel like comes from Ethan Skolnick.
That's me. Sorry to give away the ghost.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, he's unmasked.
It's not all me. We have a couple other people posting.
But I can tell when you're
memes and stuff, but it was mostly me.
I can tell when you're typing, and it's like you talking to Dame, going, "Listen, Dame, we get it. It's okay. It's time." Like doing the Goodwill hunting. It's not your fault. Like. Does it feel like that's really what's going to happen here? Like, to me, after they drafted, and they're clearly going young, and no one's falling for their trades of young guys to give away a superstar. Like, is this really what's going to end up happening at some point? And do you see it happening this offseason, or do they really wait to the trade deadline, even though it feels like we all know the answer here?
I mean, we know what should happen, but it doesn't mean we know the answer. Those are two different things. I mean, we know that they should trade him, and we know that he should ask for a trade. It benefits both sides, I believe, to do it now rather than wait for Dame to potentially get hurt in the first half of the season in his age 33 year and then try to recoup, or for him to kind of wait where maybe the options that he wants to go may not be as available. Like, there's no reason to wait on this thing, but it doesn't mean they won't. I mean, teams have done that before. I mean, you look at Toronto, just the example of Kyle Lowry at the trade deadline a couple of years ago. Masai held him when he could have gotten better packages than he ended up getting the next year. So, I mean, teams do it. And there is that sort of sentimental pull with him. And, it's kind of like, just, do one more thing and you'll keep me. And then, they make one more move. Maybe they re-sign Jeremy Grant and they trade one of the young guys for one more vet. And all of a sudden, let's roll it back. I don't think Miami is counting on it definitely happening. Like this idea that the Heat know, I don't believe they know. I think they're taking a calculated gamble is what they're doing. But it also doesn't mean necessarily, even if he leaves, that it's going to be, that they're going to trade him to Miami. I mean, if you just look at the Heat's assets, we like I said, we did 3 episodes of 5 on the Floor. We did one where they ranked all their assets. We did one where we went to go all in for Dame, and we did one last night where we went into their tax and luxury tax situation pretty specifically with Brian Goins. I mean, all 3 of them tell you this: like Miami does not have the best offers, and they do not have the best cap sheet. It's okay in terms of offers. Okay, Brooklyn could offer more, and so if he can be convinced to go play with Mikal Bridges there and say, okay, maybe. It's not exactly where I wanted to go, but maybe the situation, it's a big market. Could he be convinced? Maybe. And the reality is, I mean, he doesn't have a no trade clause. So, I mean, they can trade him there if they want. Kawhi didn't want to go to Toronto when he went to Toronto from San Antonio, ended up winning a championship. I mean, so sometimes Kyrie certainly didn't want to go to Dallas. He wanted to go to LA this last offseason. The guy who had control was Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal decided not to entirely exercise that control because Phoenix operated it emerged as a legitimate option for him. Lillard could be the same thing, and he doesn't even have a no trade. So I just feel the Heat are taking a calculated risk. I feel it is worth it, okay, largely because there's not a hell of a lot else they can do anyway. Like, it would be one thing, like Heat fans, like, you're going to miss out on all these free agents. They can't sign any free agents. Like, if you look at their tax and cap sheet, they said, like, people like Brook Lopez. I'd love to get Brook Lopez too, but Brook Lopez isn't taking $5 million. I mean, it's just, it's kind of okay, might as well roll the dice on the guy who'd be the best possible fit with Jimmy and Bam. Like, you do it, but I'm not guaranteeing anything at this stage. I don't think. It's cute, but I mean, we made fun of it. But playing "Welcome to Miami" in the background, or Jimmy trolling, he's at Neymar's gender reveal this weekend, and I mean, I don't, this is kind of silliness. The reality is, Portland should trade him. Dame should ask for a trade. Miami makes the most sense. It does not mean it will happen.
Okay.
They're more likely to sign Felipe Lopez, who we were talking about earlier this morning.
Are you talking about the former St. John's guard?
Yes. Yeah, Felipe Lopez.
I saw him play in high school. He was unbelievable in high school.
He was great. I watched a 30 for 30. I think it's been around. I'm not sure if
I think I've seen it
a while back, but real interesting story. Very compelling. And, I did some of the games, 2 of the years that Felipe Lopez was at St. John's when they played Miami. Mm-hmm. I was calling the games on the radio, and I remember thinking, because I saw him, in his sophomore year, I believe, for the first time. And I was asking myself, like everybody else was, what's the big deal about this guy? He sucks. Yeah. I think he had like one of those Iverson pro shooting nights where he was 6 for 27 and, ended up with a bunch of points. But, you're saying that this guy's a liability. And then he bounced back and, he had a real good story all the way through and became like a real fulfilling, type of, he lived a very fulfilling life and still is, which is good. I don't want to kill him off here, but Brook Lopez would be somebody that I would consider, and, it's not happening. So very good. Ethan, I know you got to run. So we appreciate it as always. On top of it, I mean, I don't even know if Rene Descartes could figure out what the Heat cap situation is. So, that you would dive into that's bold. I mean, that really is.
It makes your head hurt.
You have to be a real mathematician. And the numbers are so astronomical that it's even tougher to play with. It's not like you're trying to multiply, if you had an exacta that paid $28.60 6 times, how much did you make? But that has to be a real.
Jeff, I'll leave you with this on the cap situation, how it's blown up. The big 3, when they came together in 2010, Dwayne, LeBron, and Chris made a combined $43 million their first year. Yeah. The Suns' big 3 of Durant, Beal, and Booker right now makes 129. Their 3-man average is $43 million. So it has literally tripled the price of premium talent in 13 years. That's what you're looking at. So
That's why the NBA has such close relations with China.
yes,
And nobody else can talk to these guys.
exactly.
That doesn't get publicized too much there. Adam Silver never mentions, hey, thanks to our Chinese brothers and sisters.
No.
And now we'll have the draft. All right. Ethan, we love you, man. Thanks so much. Always
Thanks,
a pleasure.
guys.
Very good. Ethan Scoop Skolnick, ladies and gentlemen.
I know you guys are lucky and blessed and probably grateful to get to hear Scoop almost every day. I think he drops knowledge here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We check out that stuff. I check him out all over Twitter, but love to get to talk to him on our own show, our own platform, our own thing from time to time. The Dame rumors aren't going anywhere. And like you said, look, it's not a definite. It may not even be trending that it's going to happen. But reports come out today that Sam Amick, a very heralded reporter, has said Dame has serious interest in the Heat. Yes, he wants to stay, but here's the deal. As Ethan talked about, what can the Blazers really do? Like, yes, there's other teams with better hauls, but look, Ethan knows cap-wise, player-wise, maybe it's more draft picks. Maybe it's more players. But he can give you a guy like Herro, which the Nets aren't going to give you. Herro is a borderline all-star. He was a sixth man of the year a season ago, not this past season, but a season before that. He's a guy that averages around 20 points a game, and he's still only 23 years old, plus draft picks, plus possibly, I would rather not do it, but plus a guy like Caleb Martin, plus a guy like Jovic, a young guy that a lot of people have a lot of hope for. Look, the Nets may be able to do more, but he could definitely give you a really good haul, especially seeing what those guys have done for the Heat. On top of that, it's sort of where it feels like Lillard would have the most success. And for a guy that's been that loyal to that franchise, you would think that they would work hand in hand to, yes, leave the Blazers in good shape, but also give him an opportunity to win a title. He's not winning a title with the Nets. He's just not. Like, Bridges showed some signs. Bridges is a nice player. And the Nets have some interesting pieces. The Nets are a young team, and they're going to be a young team. And they're not. And, yeah, they had a better seed than the Heat. Okay, what did they do in the playoffs? What did the Heat do? We know the Heat's seeding was a little wacky because they were hurt all year long. It's funny, as hurt as they were in the playoffs, they were still healthier than they were a lot of the season. And you saw what they were able to do. They went to the finals. Again, a second time in 4 years, third time in the Eastern Conference Finals in 4 years. The Heat are set up to win now, and Damian is literally a similar age of Jimmy Butler, trying to do what Jimmy Butler is trying to do. Will he end up with the Heat? I don't know. He may linger with the Blazers, but it makes no sense. They're never going to get as good a haul as they're going to get now. And why not reset now? Let it be Scoot. Scoot is legit. Let it be his team. I don't know. Look, I'm biased. I want Damian Lillard here. I also, being realistic, I don't see why him staying there helps either side. So they may keep doing this dance, and nothing's guaranteed, as Ethan Skolnick said, and it is a calculated risk the Heat are taking, because right now, the way they are cap-wise, they can't sign free agents. The only way they can improve is via a trade where they get rid of some of their highly accrued assets and they bring on an asset. It just makes the most sense. I mean, for everyone involved, it just makes the most sense. So we'll see what happens with that. The Miami Marlins are hot. 11 games over 500. Sitting there second in the NL East. The number one spot in the wild card right now as we get closer to the halfway point of the baseball season. We will talk more Marlins. Panthers offseason is here, but they look like they're going to be active in the offseason. They need to be. Their defense sucked. The regular season, the defense was better in the playoffs, but again, with all the injuries, sucked in the Stanley Cup Finals. But they have a group that is ready to contend now. So look forward to see what the Panthers will do. And the Messi murmurs continue. He's slated to get his first playing time in a Inter Miami CF jersey July 21st. We'll talk more about that. Lot working in the summer months here in South Florida. Check us out each and every morning. The Defo Show with Lubie on South Florida Live on YouTube. Check us out with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox as well, a show we do on South Florida Live. Also, the Let's Eat South Florida Facebook group. Check out our national podcast. Haven't done one in a couple weeks, but always doing things with the Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search after hours. And here, every morning, Defo on 5 with Lubie and the Defo Show with Lubie here on South Florida's home for sports, the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.